The ceremonial hall of the Thornbreaker was massive, built to accommodate the largest warriors in the known galaxy. Ambassador Thalvor stood at the center, his reptilian scales gleaming under the bright lights. Around him sat representatives from 12 different warrior species, each one a survivor of their own Deathworld. They had gathered here today for an important moment. The humans were coming with a gift. Thalvor felt nervous. He would never admit it out loud, but humans made him uncomfortable. Earth was rated as a Class 12 Deathworld, the highest possible rating. The humans had survived on a planet that tried to kill them every single day. They had fought against creatures with venom, teeth, and claws. They had endured weather that could freeze or burn them. They had climbed to the top of their food chain through sheer determination and cleverness, and now they wanted to be friends. The massive doors opened with a soft hiss. Captain Hune walked in first, wearing the standard uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. He was smiling, which Thalvor found strange. Behind him came Dr. Bora, a smaller human female carrying a data pad. Between them floated a large sphere, about 2 meters wide, made of some kind of bio-containment material. It glowed softly with a blue light. "Greetings, honored members of the Deathworld Alliance," Captain Hyun said. His voice was warm and friendly. "We come bearing a gift to celebrate our new partnership." High Commander Vexerl leaned forward in his seat. He was a Duranthi, built like a living tank with armor plating covering most of his body. "What is the nature of this gift, human?" Dr. Bora stepped forward, still smiling. "We have brought you a companion species from Earth, something to demonstrate the bond between our peoples." The room fell silent. "A companion species from Earth?" The delegates exchanged worried glances. Everything from Earth was dangerous. Even the plants could kill you. What kind of creature would humans consider a suitable gift? Thalvor cleared his throat. "Dr. Bora, we appreciate the gesture. However, we must ask about safety protocols. What class of organism are we dealing with?" "Oh, completely harmless," Dr. Bora said cheerfully. "Well, mostly harmless. It's very common on Earth. Millions of humans live with these creatures every day." That did not make anyone feel better. Humans had a very different definition of harmless than the rest of the galaxy. Captain Hyun pressed a button on his wrist device. The bio-containment sphere slowly descended to the floor of the ceremonial hall. Through the translucent material, something moved inside. Something small and dark. "We call them cats," Dr. Bora explained. "They are obligate carnivores, apex predators in their weight class, and highly intelligent. This particular individual is named Admiral Whiskers." "Apex predator?" Researcher Kivnal spoke up from the back. He was a Sithari, insect-like with multiple compound eyes. "How large is this creature?" "About 4 kilograms, Captain Hyun said. 4 kilograms. The entire room relaxed slightly. That was tiny. Most of the warriors present could crush something that small with one hand. "We have decided to leave the gift in your capable hands," Dr. Bora continued. "There is an instruction manual included along with necessary supplies. Admiral Whiskers should adapt to his new environment within a few days." "Should?" Thalvor asked. "Will," Dr. Bora corrected quickly. "Will adapt, definitely." Captain Hune and Dr. Bora both had the same expression on their faces now. It looked like they were trying very hard not to laugh. Thalvor found this deeply concerning, but he could not refuse the gift. That would be a diplomatic disaster. "We accept your generous gift with gratitude," Thalvor said formally. "It will serve as a symbol of the friendship between our peoples." "Excellent." Captain Hyun clapped his hands together. "You're going to love him. Cats are wonderful. Just remember to give him space at first. Let him come to you, and whatever you do, don't make sudden movements. And keep the lights on at night," Dr. Bora added. "At least for the first few weeks." "Why?" High Commander Vexerl asked. "Just trust us," both humans said at the same time. The humans left shortly after, taking their shuttle back to the Earth vessel waiting in orbit. The bio-containment sphere remained in the ceremonial hall. The Alliance members gathered around it, curious and cautious. Inside the sphere, they could now see the creature clearly. It had fur, dark brown with black stripes. Its eyes were large and green, reflecting the light in an unnatural way. Its ears were pointed and alert, constantly moving to track sounds. It had a long tail that swished back and forth. "It looks almost cute," said one of the younger delegates, a Krithian warrior named Zelthar. Kivanal was already scanning the creature with his equipment. "Interesting. The muscle density is remarkable for something this size. The claws are retractable. The jaw structure suggests a strong bite force. And look at this, the eyes have a tapetum lucidum. Speak plainly, researcher, Vexrel growled. It is built for hunting in darkness, Kivanal explained. A nocturnal predator. The room fell quiet again. Nocturnal. That meant it would be most active at night, during the ship's sleep cycle. We should transport it to the xenobiology wing immediately, Thalvor decided. Keep it contained until we understand it better. 4 security officers lifted the sphere and carried it away. The creature inside watched them with those unsettling green eyes. As they moved through the corridors, crew members stopped to stare. Word was already spreading through the ship. The humans had sent a predator as a gift. In the xenobiology wing, they placed the sphere in a reinforced observation chamber. Kivanal set up monitoring equipment while Security Chief Grolmar stood guard. The humans had left a junior officer behind, a young female named Jiwoo. She stood outside the observation chamber with a small smile on her face. Is there anything we should know about caring for this creature? Kivanal asked her. Oh, Admiral Whiskers is very easy to care for, Jiwoo said. Just provide food, water, and a clean litter box. He will do the rest. Litter box? Grolmar asked. For waste elimination. It is all in the manual. Kivanal pulled up the manual on his datapad. It was over 300 pages long. He stared at it in disbelief. This creature requires 300 pages of instructions? That's just the basic guide, Jiwoo said helpfully. There are also advanced guides for behavioral issues, health concerns, and proper enrichment activities. Before anyone could respond, a soft sound came from the sphere. It was a gentle chirping noise, almost melodic. The creature was making sounds. What does that mean? Grolmar asked, his hand moving to his weapon. It means he is saying hello, Jiwoo explained. Cats communicate through various vocalizations. As they watched, the creature stood up on its 4 legs and stretched. Its mouth opened in a massive yawn, revealing sharp teeth and a pink tongue. Then it sat down and began to lick one of its paws. Fascinating, Kivanal whispered. Grooming behavior. This suggests high intelligence and self-awareness. The hours passed. The ship's day cycle turned to night cycle. The lights in most corridors dimmed to allow the crew to rest. In the xenobiology wing, Kivanal remained at his post watching the creature called Admiral Whiskers. The biocontainment sphere had developed a small crack along one side. Kivanal made a note to repair it in the morning. The creature was curled up in a ball, apparently sleeping. Everything seemed peaceful. Then at exactly midnight ship time, Admiral Whiskers opened his eyes. They glowed in the darkness like 2 green suns. The cat stood up, stretched again, and approached the crack in the sphere. With one swift movement of his paw, the crack widened. Kivanal jumped to his feet. Alert, the containment is breaching. But it was too late. Admiral Whiskers squeezed through the opening with impossible flexibility. He landed softly on the floor of the observation chamber, looked directly at Kivanal, and made a sound that no one on the ship had ever heard before. It was not a chirp. It was not a purr. It was a loud, piercing scream that seemed to come from the depths of some ancient hell. Then Admiral Whiskers vanished into the ventilation system, and the real terror began. Researcher Kivanal stared at the empty observation chamber in shock. The creature had been there just seconds ago. Now there was only silence and an open ventilation grate. His multiple eyes tried to process what had just happened, but it seemed impossible. Something that small should not be able to move that fast. All security teams, this is Kivanal in xenobiology. He spoke into his communication device. The Earth creature has escaped containment. I repeat, the creature is loose in the ship. Security Chief Grolmar's voice came back immediately. What is its location? Unknown. It entered the ventilation system at junction 47 Beta. Seal all vents in that section. We will contain it quickly. But Grolmar was wrong. They would not contain it quickly. They would not contain it at all. Ensign Jiwoo had been asleep in her guest quarters when the alarm woke her. She checked her datapad and saw the emergency alert. Admiral Whiskers was loose. She smiled and went back to sleep. This was going to be entertaining. Within 30 minutes, reports started coming in from all over the ship. Crew members on Deck 7 reported hearing strange scratching sounds in the walls. A maintenance worker on Deck 9 found a stack of datapads knocked onto the floor. Someone on Deck 12 swore they saw glowing green eyes watching them from a dark corner. But when they turned on the lights, nothing was there. Security Chief Grolmar assembled a team of 12 warriors. They were all experienced hunters, veterans of countless battles. They armed themselves with stun weapons and tracking equipment. How hard could it be to find one small creature on a ship? Very hard, as it turned out. The team split into groups of 4, each covering a different section of the ship. They moved through the corridors slowly, scanning every shadow and checking every hiding spot. The ship's sensors could detect life signs, but Admiral Whiskers was too small to trigger the standard alerts. They had to search the old way, with their eyes and ears. On Deck 8, one team found evidence of the creature's passage. There were small scratches on the wall about a meter off the ground. Fur was caught in a door seal, and there in the middle of the corridor was a biological deposit. Is that what I think it is? One warrior asked. Yes, the team leader confirmed. The creature has marked territory. This was concerning. Territory marking meant the creature was settling in. It was not scared. It was claiming the ship as its own domain. The team followed the trail of evidence to a storage room. The door was closed but not locked. They opened it carefully, weapons ready. Inside, boxes and equipment were scattered everywhere. Something had been in here searching through supplies. There, one warrior shouted, pointing at a high shelf. Admiral Whiskers sat on top of a storage container, looking down at them. His tail swished back and forth in a lazy pattern. He made a soft chirping sound, almost like he was greeting them. Do not make sudden movements, the team leader whispered. Slowly surround it. We will capture it with the containment net. They moved into position, forming a circle around the shelf. The net launcher was prepared. Everything was going according to plan. Then Admiral Whiskers yawned, showing all his teeth, and did something that should have been impossible. He jumped straight up, hit the ceiling with his paws, pushed off at an angle, and ran along the wall. Yes, ran along the wall as if gravity was just a suggestion. He passed over the heads of all 4 warriors before they could react, slipped through the open door, and disappeared into the corridor. What just happened? One warrior asked in a shaking voice. I do not know, the team leader admitted. But we need to inform High Commander Vexrol immediately. The reports kept coming. Admiral Whiskers appeared in the mess hall and stole food from 3 different crew members before vanishing. He was spotted in the engineering section, watching the technicians work from on top of a power conduit. He showed up in the medical bay and knocked over an entire tray of surgical instruments just to watch them fall. And always, there was the screaming. It happened at random times, usually when the crew least expected it. A loud, piercing yowl that echoed through the corridors. It sounded like something dying in great pain. The first time it happened, 17 crew members called medical emergency. But by the 5th time, everyone understood. The creature was just making noise. Why? No one knew. By the end of the first full day, 3 decks of the ship were considered dangerous territory. Crew members refused to go there alone. They traveled in groups, watching the shadows and ceiling. The mighty warriors of the Deathworld Alliance were afraid of a 4-kilogram mammal. Ambassador Thalvor sat in his office with his head in his hands. High Commander Vexrol stood nearby, looking angry. This is unacceptable, Vexrol said. We are the most powerful military force in this sector. We cannot be terrorized by one small creature. Have you tried to catch it yourself? Thalvor asked. Vexrol went quiet. He had tried. Admiral Whiskers had led him on a chase through 5 decks before disappearing into a maintenance shaft that was too small for the commander to follow. It had been humiliating. We need to contact the humans again, Thalvor decided. Ask for their assistance. That would be admitting defeat. We are already defeated, Commander. The creature owns this ship now. We just live here. A communication link was established with Dr. Minji, the human veterinary specialist. Her face appeared on the view screen, smiling and cheerful. Hello? How is Admiral Whiskers settling in? Settling in? Thalvor could barely control his voice. Your creature has taken over 3 decks of our ship. It appears and disappears at will. It makes horrible screaming sounds at all hours. My crew is terrified, Dr. Minji nodded sympathetically. Oh yes, that is normal cat behavior. He is just exploring his new environment and expressing himself. Expressing himself? Cats are very vocal animals. They communicate through various sounds. The screaming you mention is probably him calling out either in play or because he is excited. Excited about what? Vexrol demanded. About hunting, Dr. Minji said brightly. Cats have a strong prey drive. Even though he has food, he still wants to hunt. It is instinct. He is probably chasing dust particles or shadows or maybe even crew members. He is hunting my crew? Oh, not actually hunting. Just practice hunting. Play hunting. It is very cute. There was a long silence. Nothing about this situation was cute. Dr. Minji, Thalvor said carefully. How do we catch this creature? Catch him? Why would you want to catch him? To return him to containment. Dr. Minji laughed. You cannot put a cat back in containment once he has tasted freedom. He would be miserable. Just let him roam. He will calm down in a few days. A few days, both aliens said at the same time, maybe a week. Possibly 2. It depends on the cat. Admiral Whiskers is young and energetic, so he might take longer to settle. But do not worry. Once he feels safe, he will be much calmer. The communication ended. Thalvor and Vexrel looked at each other in horror. Weeks of this? That night, at exactly 3 a.m. ship time, the worst incident occurred. Admiral Whiskers discovered the joy of running at full speed through corridors for no apparent reason. This behavior, which humans called zoomies, involved the cat sprinting as fast as possible, making sharp turns, jumping on and off walls, and screaming the entire time. The sound woke up half the ship. Crew members rushed out of their quarters, weapons ready, thinking the ship was under attack. Instead, they saw a small brown blur racing past them, yowling like a demon from the deepest hell. Ensign Jiwoo was woken up by 12 different emergency calls. She checked the security footage and started laughing so hard she cried. Admiral Whiskers was having the time of his life, and the entire Deathworld alliance was in chaos because of it. She recorded a message to send back to Earth. Mission successful. The alliance is learning humility. We'll continue observation. Admiral Whiskers finished his midnight run and found a nice warm spot on top of a heating vent. He curled up, tucked his paws under his body, and went to sleep. He was very pleased with his new home. So many things to explore, so many places to hide, and so many tall creatures to terrify. Life was good. 48 hours after Admiral Whiskers arrived, the Thornbreaker was no longer a functioning military vessel. It was a disaster zone. High Commander Vexral stood in the command center, reading reports that made him want to retire immediately. Engineering reported that the cat had nested in the power relay station. No one dared remove him because he hissed and swatted at anyone who came close. Medical reported 17 crew members with minor scratches, not from attacks, but from trying to pet the creature when he seemed friendly. The creature would allow exactly 3 pets, then suddenly decide violence was the answer. Most embarrassing was the report from security. Admiral Whiskers had established complete dominance over decks 7, 8, and 9. Crew members would not enter those areas without backup. The mighty warriors of the Deathworld Alliance were scared of a small furry mammal that weighed less than a standard combat ration pack. This ends today, Vexrel announced. I am personally leading a capture mission. We will use every resource available. That creature will be contained. Lieutenant Doyen arrived on the Thornbreaker that afternoon. He was a human special operations officer, sent by Earth after Ambassador Thalvor made a desperate request for help. Doyen was tall for a human, with an easy smile and relaxed posture. He did not look like someone who took anything seriously. So you need help catching a cat? Doyen asked, trying very hard not to laugh. This is not amusing, Lieutenant, Vexral growled. Your people sent us a weapon disguised as a gift. Admiral Whiskers is not a weapon. He is just a cat. Just a cat? Your Just a Cat has defeated my entire security force. It moves through walls. It defies gravity. It appears and disappears like a ghost. And the screaming, Lieutenant. The screaming never stops. Doyen could not hold back anymore. He started laughing. Oh man, he has got you guys good. Yeah, that is normal cat behavior. They are little chaos engines. We keep them in our homes because we think it is fun. Fun? Thalvor had joined the conversation. You think this is fun? Let me guess, Doyen said, still smiling. He runs around like crazy at 3 a.m, knocks stuff off tables, stares at you from dark corners, makes sounds like he is dying, but he is actually just talking? Yes, all of that. Yeah, that is just cats being cats. People on Earth deal with this every single day. There was a long silence. The aliens tried to process this information. Humans lived with these creatures voluntarily. They brought them into their homes, their sleeping areas, their private spaces. And they did it on purpose, for fun. Your species is insane, Vexral said quietly. You are just figuring that out now? Doyen replied. Despite Doyen's amusement, Vexral insisted on the capture mission. A tactical team of 20 warriors assembled in the main briefing room. They were equipped with stun nets, tranquilizer darts, set to small animal settings, motion sensors, thermal imaging, and full combat armor. We are hunting a 4-kilogram mammal, Tactical Officer Zelthar said, standing before a holographic display of the ship. Intelligence indicates the target has established a nest in Junction 47 on Deck 8. We will surround the Kaisi area, cut off all escape routes, and capture the target with minimal force. You are going to need more than minimal force, Doyen commented from the back of the room. Lieutenant, you may observe, but do not interfere, Vexral ordered. Would not dream of it, Commander. The team moved out, spreading through the corridors in precise formation. They communicated through hand signals and whispered words. Every warrior was focused, ready. They had trained for years to become elite soldiers. One small creature would not defeat them. They reached Junction 47 and sealed all the exits. Motion sensors were placed at every possible escape route. Thermal imaging confirmed the target was inside, hiding behind a large equipment box. The team moved in slowly, forming a tightening circle. Admiral Whiskers sat behind the box, cleaning his face with his paw. He looked completely relaxed, totally unconcerned with the 20 armed warriors surrounding him. On my mark, Zelthar whispered. 3, 2, 1, mark. The nets launched simultaneously from 4 different angles. It was a perfect tactical execution. There was no possible way for the target to escape, except Admiral Whiskers did not follow the laws of tactics. He jumped straight up, higher than should be possible for his size, twisted in midair like he had no bones, and landed on top of one warrior's helmet. He used the helmet as a launching platform, jumped to the wall, ran along the wall like it was the floor, reached the ceiling, hung there for a moment by his claws, and then dropped down on the other side of the circle. He paused, looked back at the shocked warriors, made a sound that might have been a laugh, and sprinted away at full speed. After him, Vexral roared. The chase was on. Admiral Whiskers led them through corridors, up maintenance shafts, across ceilings, and through spaces that should have been too small for any living thing. He seemed to be enjoying himself, occasionally, stopping to make sure the warriors were still following, before racing off again. At one point, he ran up Vexral's armor, across his shoulders and down the other side, using the commander as a stepping stone. The mighty leader of the Duranthi warriors stood frozen, not sure whether to feel insulted or terrified. After 20 minutes of chaos, Admiral Whiskers jumped into a ventilation shaft and disappeared. The team stood in the corridor, breathing hard, completely defeated. Doyen walked up, still recording everything on his datapad. That was impressive. I think he was playing with you. Playing? Zelthar gasped. That was a tactical retreat, not play. No, he was definitely playing. See how he kept stopping? He was making sure you could keep up. If he wanted to really escape, you never would have seen him at all. This information did not make anyone feel better. Back in the command center, Thalvor sent an urgent message to Earth. The message was simple and desperate. Please retrieve your weapon. Our alliance is strong. We respect humanity greatly, but we cannot coexist with this creature. Please help. The response came back 3 hours later from Captain Hyun himself. Ambassador Thalvor, Admiral Whiskers is not a weapon, he is a companion. The fact that you cannot catch him is exactly the point. He is teaching you an important lesson. What lesson? Thalvor typed back furiously. That strength is not everything. Flexibility, adaptation, and humility are just as important. If you cannot coexist with one small cat, how can you coexist with humanity? We are unpredictable, chaotic, and we do not follow your rules. Admiral Whiskers is showing you what it means to deal with Earth. Thalvor stared at the message for a long time. Slowly, understanding began to dawn. This was a test. Not a test of strength, but a test of adaptability. The humans wanted to see if the Alliance could handle something small, fast, and completely outside their normal experience. That night, another incident occurred. Admiral Whiskers appeared in the command center at exactly midnight. He jumped onto Vexral's command chair, the most important seat on the ship, and sat down. He looked at Vexral, who was standing 3 meters away, and slowly, deliberately began to clean himself. It was a clear message. This is my chair now. This is my ship. You are just visiting. Vexral stood there for a full minute, his armor creaking as his muscles tensed. Every instinct told him to grab the creature and throw it off his chair, but something made him stop. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the beginning of understanding. Or maybe it was the way Admiral Whiskers looked at him with those green eyes, completely unafraid. The chair is yours, Vexral said quietly. For now. Admiral Whiskers blinked, slowly, which Doyen later explained was a sign of trust and affection in cats. Then the cat curled up on the chair and went to sleep. Word spread through the ship quickly. The commander had surrendered his chair to the cat. Some crew members saw it as a defeat. Others saw it as wisdom. But everyone agreed on one thing. The humans had won this round, and they had done it with the smallest, strangest weapon imaginable. A cat named Admiral Whiskers who just wanted somewhere warm to sleep and people to terrorize for fun. The screaming continued, of course. It would never stop. But slowly, very slowly, the crew of the Thornbreaker began to understand that maybe the screaming was not a threat. Maybe it was just life with cats. And maybe humans had learned something important by living with these creatures for thousands of years. Something about accepting chaos, adapting to the unexpected, and learning to love something that absolutely did not care about your authority. It was a hard lesson, but it was an important one. 3 weeks after Admiral Whiskers arrived, the Thornbreaker was barely recognizable. The massive warship that had once been a symbol of military might was now known across the galaxy as the Cat Ship. And surprisingly, no one on board minded anymore. The changes started small. Someone installed a cat door in the main corridor. Then someone else added climbing shelves along the walls. Then the engineering team built an elaborate network of elevated walkways, so Admiral Whiskers could move through the ship without touching the floor. The recreational budget was redirected to cat toys, scratching posts, and various pieces of furniture designed specifically for feline comfort. Ambassador Thalvor walked through the ship, observing these modifications with a mixture of amusement and wonder. His crew had gone from terrified warriors to devoted cat servants in less than a month. It was remarkable. In the mess hall, he found a group of crew members arguing about Admiral Whiskers' favorite food. A Crithian warrior was insisting that the cat preferred protein paste, while a Duranthi officer claimed that the cat only liked the imported earthfish. They were about to come to blows over cat food preferences. "Gentlemen," Thalvor interrupted, "perhaps we should simply offer both options and let Admiral Whiskers decide." They looked at him like he had just said something incredibly wise. The argument ended immediately, and both warriors went to prepare food offerings for the cat. Thalvor continued his walk and found High Commander Vexral in the command center. The mighty warrior was at his station, but on his lap sat Admiral Whiskers, purring contentedly while the commander worked. Vexral was even gently petting the cat while reviewing tactical reports. "Commander," Thalvor said carefully, "are you aware that you have a cat on your lap?" "Yes, Ambassador. He has a scheduled sitting time from 1400 to 1600 hours. We worked out an arrangement." "An arrangement? He sits with me, I provide warmth and attention, and he does not knock over my coffee. It is a fair trade." Thalvor decided not to mention that the commander of the most powerful military alliance in the sector had just negotiated a treaty with a cat. Some things were better left unsaid. The real proof of change came when other ships in the Alliance fleet began requesting their own companion. Animals. Word had spread about the positive effects on crew morale and cooperation. Species that had barely tolerated each other were now working together to build cat furniture and share care duties. Captain Hyun arrived for an official visit to assess the situation. He walked through the Thornbreaker with barely controlled laughter, taking in all the modifications. "This is incredible," he said to Thalvor. "We hoped the cat would help with crew bonding, but this exceeds all expectations. Your people have fully embraced the chaos." "We had no choice," Thalvor replied. "It was adapt or be driven insane." We chose adaptation. That is exactly what we needed to see. Do you understand why now? Talvor nodded slowly. You needed to know if we could coexist with something unpredictable. Something that does not follow rules or respect hierarchy. Something that requires patience and understanding rather than force. Precisely. Humanity is not like other species, Ambassador. We do not fit into neat boxes. We are chaotic, creative, and occasionally insane. If you could not handle one cat, you could not handle an alliance with Earth. They found Dr. Bora in the xenobiology lab with Kivnal. The researcher had written an extensive thesis on feline behavior, psychology, and the effects of cat ownership on warrior species. It was over 400 pages long and included detailed charts, graphs, and behavioral analysis. This is fascinating work, researcher, Dr. Bora said, scrolling through the document. You have observed patterns that even Earth scientists missed. Have you considered publishing this? Kivnal's eyes brightened with excitement. You think it is worthy of publication? Absolutely. This could change how we understand interspecies bonding. You have documented the entire process of a warrior culture learning to care for something small and vulnerable. It is beautiful work. Kivnal looked down at his multiple limbs, which were trembling slightly. I must confess something, Dr. Bora. When Admiral Whiskers first arrived, I was frightened. I thought he was a weapon. But now I cannot imagine this ship without him. He has brought us together in ways that military drills and combat training never could. That is the power of cats, Dr. Bora said softly. They teach us that strength is not everything. Sometimes the greatest warriors are those who can be gentle with something small. Admiral Whiskers chose that moment to appear, jumping onto the lab table and walking across Kivnal's datapad. He sat down directly on the screen, blocking all the information, and began cleaning his paw. Admiral, I am working, Kivnal said with mock frustration, but he was smiling, and his hand came up automatically to pet the cat. Admiral Whiskers purred, accepting the attention as his rightful due, and settled down for a nap on the datapad. Work could wait. The cat required a warm spot. That evening, there was a formal ceremony in the main hall. Ambassador Thalvor had arranged for every crew member to attend. Even the third shift workers were present. At the center of the hall, on a specially built platform, sat Admiral Whiskers, looking regal and slightly bored with the whole affair. 3 weeks ago, Thalvor began, we received a gift from our human allies. We did not understand it. We feared it. We tried to contain it, and in doing so, we learned something important about ourselves. He paused, looking around at his crew, warriors from a dozen species all watching him intently. We learned that we were rigid, set in our ways. We believed that strength and discipline were the only paths to success. But this small creature showed us that there are other kinds of strength. The strength to adapt, the strength to be patient, the strength to care for something that gives nothing back except occasional affection and frequent chaos. Several crew members laughed. Admiral Whiskers had given them plenty of chaos. From this day forward, Admiral Whiskers is officially recognized as a member of this crew. He holds the honorary rank of Morale Officer, with all the privileges and responsibilities that come with it. Admiral Whiskers yawned, showing his complete indifference to military ranks and honors. The ceremony ended with refreshments and socialization. Crew members gathered in small groups, sharing stories about their interactions with the cat. The Crithian warrior, who had once been so afraid, now showed pictures of Admiral Whiskers sleeping in his quarters. The Duranthi officer, who had been stalked for 2 weeks, now considered it an honor to be chosen as the cat's favorite hunting practice target. High Commander Vexrel approached Thalvor with a datapad. Ambassador, we have received a new message from Earth. What does it say? They are sending another gift. To commemorate the success of our alliance. Thalvor felt his blood run cold. Another animal? Yes, they call it a golden retriever. The message says the creature is extremely friendly, loves everyone, and will be an excellent addition to our crew. What else does it say? Vexrel hesitated. There is a note from Captain Hyun. It says, and I quote, "If you thought the cat was interesting, wait until you meet a dog. Good luck." Thalvor and Vexrel looked at each other with the same expression. They had survived Admiral Whiskers. They had adapted, learned, and grown. But another creature? From Earth? Commander, what is a dog? I do not know, Ambassador, but I suspect we are about to find out. They walked to the observation deck and found Admiral Whiskers sitting on his favorite cushion, staring out at the stars. The cat turned to look at them with those green eyes, and Thalvor could have sworn he saw amusement there. "You knew this was coming, did you not?" Thalvor asked the cat. This was just the beginning. Admiral Whiskers made a soft chirping sound and went back to watching the stars. He had done his job. The ship was his now, and the crew understood their place in the hierarchy. Whatever came next would be interesting, but Admiral Whiskers was not worried. He was a cat. He adapted to everything. The real question was whether these aliens could keep adapting too. The screaming had not stopped. It would never stop. But now the crew looked forward to it. The 3 a.m. zoomies were a ship tradition. The random yowls were considered good luck. The sight of a small brown cat perched in impossible places brought smiles instead of fear. The Deathworld Alliance had learned an important lesson from humanity. Surviving Earth was not about being the strongest or the toughest. It was about being flexible enough to coexist with chaos, smart enough to adapt to the unexpected, and humble enough to let a 4-kilogram mammal teach you about strength. As the ship prepared for the arrival of their next companion, Ensign Jiwoo sent her final report to Earth. Mission complete. The Alliance has passed the test. They are ready for Phase 2. And Admiral Whiskers has proven that cats are the best diplomats in the galaxy. They conquer through cuteness, dominate through affection, and rule through sheer force of personality. Humanity's greatest weapon is not our technology or our military. It is our ability to love something that absolutely does not care if we live or die. We have shared that weapon with the stars. May the galaxy be ready for what comes next. Admiral Whiskers stretched, yawned one more time, and settled down for his afternoon nap. Tomorrow would bring new adventures, new things to knock over, new people to train. But for now he was content. The Thornbreaker, once a symbol of military might, was now a home. And at the center of it all, sleeping peacefully on the commander's chair, was a small brown cat who had changed the galaxy without even trying. Because that is what cats do. They take over your space, steal your heart, and make you grateful for the privilege of serving them. The screaming would continue forever. But that was okay. It was the sound of life, chaos, and the strange, beautiful friendship between species. It was the sound of the future,